and he decided to lean in to our Legacy Makers hashtag Avery Quilts project. I'll just show you right here. Like, there's a lot of buttons in here, but now we have a lot, and we got some quilt tops. And to let them see that quilting is accessible, you can start from scratch. Hey, my friends, see these two boxes? They have something to do with somebody else's channel, Barry's Quilts, who is responsible for all of these blocks coming into us. So if you've not been to Barry's channel, hop over there, take a look at what he's doing. He's a brand new quilter, freshly retired, chose quilting as a hobby, doing a YouTube channel about it, and he decided to lean in to our Legacy Makers hashtag Avery Quilts project and mentioned it on his YouTube channel. He actually sent us two. You saw that in the last video. He actually did two blocks and sent them in. And the reason that he and I got connected is, well, I think I just watched him randomly on YouTube anyway, and made a comment. That's something he said about retirement and starting, a whole brand new life, in your retirement years. So I think I made some comment about that. And so it just kind of went from there. I'd watch one of his, he'd watch one of mine. He saw that I was talking about the Legacy Makers, but I did that because of one of his videos about the buttons, which is all about memory makers. And it just resonated with me. And that's what this is about. Like, it was his video about people sharing about their legacies, about what their memories are. So he hit a hot button for a lot of people. He started doing a project all about buttons. People would send in their buttons with their memories associated to those buttons, and they would tell their story, and he would put them each inside. He'd take pictures of them, show them to the viewers, and then put them inside this big jar. And he just got an overwhelming response to that. But what that did for me, number one, I thought, of course, yes, I have buttons, and that's what's inside one of these boxes. And I have memories of buttons going back to my grandmother on my father's side. I don't think there's a one of us that doesn't have a collection of buttons and who don't remember somebody in their family who had a collection of buttons, oftentimes probably a grandmother. So it just resonated with me because my grandmother was an important part of why I picked the word legacy as just a driving, centering force in my life, to be able to think about life in terms of legacy, and the legacy that you were provided, the ones you want to leave, and the one you want your children to leave. Like, it's all connected. Anyway, so all that history to tell you why we're looking at buttons at the moment. It's not all we're going to do. We're actually going to be working on this set of blocks. I love this set of blocks, and it might be, and I don't know if this is Camille Roskelly fabric, and it might just be that it reminds me of it, but I have enough Camille Roskelly that I think that we could take a look at this particular block here in a moment. But I want to tell you, I'll just show you right here. Like, there's a lot of buttons in here, and you'll see Loft on a lot of things because that store really had my number for a long time. It just really suited me. Their colors that they would use and the style and everything just suited me. Professional and enough style that you had some style, but also not over the top on anything, right? Still fairly conservative, but you could look distinct from everybody else somehow or another. You could walk out of that store with the same outfit on and still look distinct because you could just choose it a little bit differently. Just choose your accessories a little bit differently. Anyway, loved Loft. But as I look at these buttons, and I'm going to pick something to send to him, I'm flooded with thoughts about what memory do I want to go with these to him? Do I want to make a public stand on? Because when I think about buttons and a collection of buttons, and then partly why I saved these wasn't just because if one of my buttons fell off of one of my expensive garments, I could replace it. But my grandmother, she collected them. And she was a sewist. She wasn't a quilter, although it was quilts she made for my brother and I that got me into quilting. But there was something about that just made me think my grandmother did it. I should do it. I should collect all these spare buttons. I don't own most of the clothes that any of these go to anymore, but I'm still keeping them and I still like them. but I will be sending some to Barry. But as I look at these, I think, my grandmother's buttons, which I think I have somewhere, I just can't put my hands on them. I remember, these really big ones because they would have been from, the 50s and 60s and even before that. Like my father was born in 38 and he was her oldest. No, is that right? No, I'm sorry. My father was born in 39. So she was probably sewing as a child even. So there's no telling when her button collection started. But it was much more humble then, right? It wasn't about these, professional, you got to get dressed up so that because the clothing that you wore made the person, right? That was the mentality that you could go into a professional setting and people could take you seriously because of how you were dressed. And there is some validity to that. But I also love how I dress these days, right? Like I'm pretty comfortable. You've seen me in even my pajama pants at times, and you've seen me in my sweatshirts, and you've even seen me with mostly wet hair on a couple of videos. It's just not about for me anymore. It's not about the persona that you present. It's about the authenticity that you present. And so as I look at these, I remember an era when it was about the clothing because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fashion. I enjoyed the shoes. Oh my gosh, the shoes. Because I spent years not being able to be in anything but tennis shoes. And all of a sudden, my feet could handle it. My feet could handle high-heeled shoes. And so, the industry, the fashions that open up to you whenever you can start wearing high-heeled shoes, I loved it. I was all about it. The creative person in me loved getting up in the morning and picking out the clothes and putting together my accessories and everything, and it was just fun. But that was a season that's gone. That season is not my life anymore. But I don't want to dismiss it. It had validity. But I'm ready to let go of that season. I've let go of it a long time ago. When my health crisis hit, I realized that season was way gone. You don't know how small your world gets until all of a sudden you're yanked out of it. And, you start hibernating away from the world just so you can heal and deal with your symptoms. And then, everything that exists prior to that kind of just dissipates, into the clouds, just goes away. The connections you had, that life that you had. So it's not like I'm just now realizing that this season in my life is gone. But what Barry's doing, his program about the buttons, gives me an opportunity to kind of stop for a moment and kind of salute that season. That was a beautiful season. It had lots of benefits. It had lots of positives to it. I don't mourn it, and I also don't envy it. I don't want it back. I love the season I'm in. I'm definitely in a new season, and that's part of my prayer life on a regular basis. Is that I try to make it daily, sometimes multiple times a day. That I'm in a new season. God brought me through a lot of medical stuff to get me where I am, and I don't think He did that just so I could breathe one more breath. He did it so I could be here for a minute or two and do a couple things, whatever that is. There's a lot of beautiful buttons in here. So I will be giving, and I'm not on camera right now, going to pick one or some to Barry. You'll have to watch that on his channel. But I want to do something with all these because they do represent legacy to me. Because every time I put one in here, I thought of my grandmother and her button jar, and she never did anything with hers either. But yet they meant something to me. There's the oddest of things, right? So there's no wonder that his button memory makers program has meant so much to everybody, and he's had an overwhelming response to that. So I looked a little bit on Pinterest, and I saw some ideas for buttons. I don't know if there's something I'm going to put on quilts, or if it's on wall hanging, or if it's some completely different project. There's just a little bit of everything in here. Just some prissy ones, some really sturdy ones, and some clear ones, and different sizes and shapes and colors. And it's just fun to go through them. I'm going to wrap up this video clip. I just wanted you guys to know what I was doing. I'm going to be sending these over to Barry. I wanted you to go over to his program and watch what he's doing, because without him, we wouldn't have this project at all launched the way it is. I did get some from Vicky, who you guys know as Joe Sews as well. You'll see her in the comments as Joe Sews. And she had sent some, but now we have a lot. And we got some quilt tops. So that just moves us down the road, right? And it was because he leaned in and he made a difference. And so he's leaning in and helping people to think about their memories and to celebrate that. And so I encourage you to do that today too. Send him some buttons or just take a moment. Just salute a season in your life, the people in your past, and think about how they made the person who you are today, then how you can move forward. Okay, that's the end of that sappy little intro. I'm setting these aside, but not out of sight. And over the weekend, I'll be picking out something, and then you can see what I did on his channel. So the reason that we're up here today, and so this little clip about Barry, I just want to interrupt and say, it was just going to be an intro for another video. But I decided to isolate it and release it this weekend, and then on Monday I'll release the other one. But I thought it'd be nice to release this video clip in complete isolation of anything else so that it could be watched by anybody who's just interested in his button project that he's got going on called Memory Makers. So come back soon, hopefully, and watch more of my content. I appreciate that you're watching and you're enjoying what we're doing here with the variety of things, whether it's the art quilts, whether it's motor block heads, pick a pedal, some other creative thing, or it's the long arm, or the hashtag Avery quilts, comfort in the waiting that all of us legacy makers are making happen. Not doing this in isolation, doing it in community with you, and that delights me, brings me great joy, actually, and brings me peace about what I think this channel can continue to evolve to do. I want it to be somehow a blessing to others. Not just my original intent was to just make this channel be about the new beginner quilter and to let them see that quilting is accessible. You can start from scratch. It is obtainable. You just need to be authentic, allow yourself to make mistakes, to lean in and try. You don't get anywhere if you don't try. I'll be one little quick story, and then I'll shut up here and let you get on to the rest of your day. I just listened to an audio book, and I can't think of the name of it right now. If I think of it while I'm editing, I'll put it on screen. It started with an intro about how people learn multiple languages. And it's just the concept of submersing themselves in that language. They start talking in it and reading in it. And to do that, they have to humble themselves to accept failure, errors, weaknesses, and not try to worry about those things coming, but to embrace that with each one of those things, they're getting further down the line. That really resonated with me because I feel like that's what I've been doing with quilting. And I think in order for any of us to get from point A to point Z in our life and our pursuits, we have to do that. And the more we reserve ourselves because we're afraid of making mistakes, we don't like the errors, we don't like the failure points or whatever, then it holds us up. But that's what I've done here. I'm trying to do with this entire channel. And I've heard that's kind of what Barry's doing. That really interests me too. So I encourage that for you as a new beginner quilter. Just believe that you can do it. And that's what my channel was built around. It's also, a financial pursuit for me because you can generate income. But that alone doesn't fill my soul, right? Like I have to have something that's in community. I have to have something that gives back and is bigger than what I am, or I'm going to get bored with it really quickly, right? So that's what our project here with the Legacy Makers Avery Quilts allows us to do. And I can't do that alone. I'm doing that with you. So thank you for being here, watching and participating, sending in the blocks and supporting. It's just wonderful. And I really appreciate you. Hope you're enjoying moving that needle in your studio. Talk to you soon in the next video. Bye.